Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again to wrap up the Keanu Reeves month. It should have been done like a hot minute ago, but I'm wrapping it up with the trilogy of John Wick, soon to be a quadruple, but the fourth one haven't came out yet. But I thought about doing this all in one video, but like no, it has to be three separate videos because there's so much in each video that I want to talk about. So, John Wick, man, this was a sleeper hit, honestly, because prior to this, Keanu Reeves films, it's been scarce, but not the claim to fame kind of stuff. Not as bad as like how like Adam Sandler's stint has been before his Uncut Gems thing. But as word got around, because this movie, I remember it being advertised, but not as heavy. Because I guess Hollywood, if how do I put it, if there wasn't so much fanfare to get this rolled out and to the masses like that. It was in the theaters for a little while, then not. Then word got around that this movie was the bomb, woo woo, and then once I saw it on TV, it was pretty damn good. So I was looking forward to the sequel, and and then the third film. So it became one of my favorite franchises, and at this time, I think like this is like a prime example of like, because people always complain like at least a couple of things. One, the cinema is just drowning in like superhero stuff and everything like that. Because the movie came out in 2014. I think it was around like phase 2 era of Marvel. And then another thing is like, there's no original ideas. Well, this is a prime example of a good original idea if people gave a shit. So anyway, this movie stars Keanu Reeves, of course, as John Wick. Michael Nevius as Vigo Taraslov, Alfie Allen as Yosef Tarasov. If you might know him from Game of Thrones. Adrian Padalecki as Miss Perkins. Bridget Moynahan as Helen Wick. Dean Winters as Ivy, Vigo's right hand man. Ian McShane as Winston. John Leguizamo as Aurelio. Willem Dafoe as Marcus, and Lance Reddick as Chirion. So, the movie begins with, I want to stress how unique this is, because this is an action film. And your typical action film, has like, a revenge kind of plot. Usually, it's kind of like a revenge kind of plot thing. But there's always like a significant other, more often than not. And it's usually the women. But this is one of those unique story beats that kind of turns that on its head. Beginning of this movie, John Wick, has a significant love interest. They've been together. However, she is dying of terminally ill disease. Most likely cancer, it seems might be the case. When she passes, the last presents he gave him, just so he won't be grieving alone, is a little puppy beagle dog. And so he spent like the next few days just like, well, not alone. He had the puppy, so that way he can just find some semblance of peace. Come to now he's on his drive to just driving around with the puppy, and he stopped to get some gas, and then a group of Russian thugs came and like talking about his car, wanted to buy it. John was nah, I'm good, and then drives off. Later on that evening, they break in, beat up John, and kill the dog, steal the car. Now, little do they know, they fucked with the wrong person. You'll know why in a second. So as Yusuf brings the car to Aurelio and his chop shop, he immediately recognized that car. He punches that little prick in the face because he's got such a punchable face. And thinking like there'll be repercussions on Aurelio for like touching the Russian head mobster's kid. Aurelio is just unbothered. He's like, like, how do you know what Vigo wants? I tell you what, he'll understand. And John Leguizamo is awesome. He's an awesome actor. I love John Leguizamo since the 90s. So Vigo calls Aurelio and asks him, like, I heard you hit my son. May I ask why? Yeah, sir. He stole John Wick's car and then killed his dog. And you hear this a lot, particularly in this film, somewhat, in the other films too. But every time somebody mentions John Wick's name, you hear that, oh. And it's like, and Vigo just like, oh. And then hangs on the phone. There was no repercussions really or whatsoever. It's like, oh, I get it. Never mind. So as he calls his son over, he, beats his son and berates him and informs him of not the fact of what he done, but who he's done it to. And he tells him, look, this is John Wick. He's an former associate of ours, a famous assassin. And he was a former associate of ours. He went out because he met a woman, and I gave him an impossible task. And that impossible task laid the foundation of who we are today. So I've seen him kill a man. I've seen him kill 3 men with a pencil, a freaking pencil. And he just decimated a whole, a group of people just to get this done so he can get out of this life, the hitman life. And he's like, John Wick is a man of, strong will. And, not only, it's like something that Yusuf knows nothing about. He killed, you killed his dog and stole his car. Not long after he lost his wife. And they call him the Baba Yaga, which is like a Russian folklore boogeyman. So Vigo tries to call John just to try to get him to hopefully not seek retribution on his kid. He knows his kid is a total, F up. I don't want to say F up, but just like a utter privileged D-bag. But John just doesn't respond. He just hangs up the phone immediately. He doesn't need to say anything. He's a man of a few words. And it's like he still gets his point across. So Vigo has to, even though he knows it's probably pointless, but he puts out a hit on John he sends out a hit squad to John. And the hit squad comes to John's house. John, all geared up, takes him out. And this movie's like, all the John Wick movies are just like 90% headshots. I mean, like the way Keanu Reeves trained for these films, you can look it up. It is just insane how good he is. It's just like very tactical. The way he moves, it's like he studied hard. The way you clear corners, it's like, it's just the way he does it. It's just, I looked it up on like YouTube where like certain military professionals and what have you, watch scenes from this movie, and they mention how well this is portrayed, the way clearing corners and stuff, it works out, and using certain things to your advantage. And then, the way he does, like, just, heart shot, head shot, just pinpoint. There's no wasted ammo. And the fact that these movies altogether, not even just this, but all the movies, like, there's like the most accurate reload time. It's just like, he knows he run out of bullets. He doesn't just waste time just wasting ammo. He's just like, he knows how many bullets and he moves on, reloads the next time. Or even he knows it's about to run out, he just go ahead and reloads. It's just like, it's just the more, obviously this is still fanciful action movie, but this is the more just like darn near, probably, like, in my opinion, looks like the most accurate portrayal of like a action scenes, like realistically play out with, like, the way that things, like, guns fire and bodies and drop, and the damage being done. It just seems like they put a little more effort into it than what you see, like, in the 80s or 90s films, back in the day when it comes to action films. Whereas, like, John gets hurt. It's not like Rambo or Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, where it's like, it seems like they go through all this crap and they don't seem like they get, like, that much injured at all, or walking away from explosions, knowing full well that blast radius to be knocking them on their ass. It's just like, it's just superb, cinematography, well acted, everything put together was like this, almost meticulous. But anyway, after he calls in a cleanup crew to come clean up all the dead bodies from the house, you can tell there's more to, this assassination underground, criminal underground. Is when you got, like, a police officer that John knows personally, somehow, and he comes like, "You working again, John?" "No, just clearing some stuff up, Jimmy." "Oh, well, I'll leave it to you then." And that's it. It's like, John is like just infamous all around. And people been like waiting for this Continental TV show, which I don't think will get off the ground. I personally was never a fan of that idea. I think this would have lent itself, just movie wise, just with Keanu Reeves, and just, I didn't even think it was going to get a sequel, honestly, or at least a trilogy or quadruple G. But I don't know. It could be good, but it's just like, I kind of think maybe it's like I don't know, like a Continental TV show, might play out well, but I don't necessarily think it'll be needed. Like, because you run the risk of, like, Hollywood milking a dead horse when, it's like, I don't know. Anyway, John dips his toe back into his old life, because he's full on board and just killing this kid for what he did. And the people ask him, telling him, like, it's just a car, it's just a dog. It's like, it's not just a dog. And like, that's what I'm saying. Like, this turns on the head when it comes to typical tropes of action movies. Typically, you will see, like, if like, back in the day, it would have been like Helen being shot and killed by Yusuf or some BS, and then John going on. That would be like a typical thing, and then there wouldn't be any nuance to it. But the fact that it's hurting Helen by proxy because of the dog, which all dog lovers seem to really love John Wick, because they all feel like they will turn in John Wick if something happens to their dog, and it's like, no, you would not. But John goes to the Continental, pretty much like it's like Continental's like, every city and country has one. It's kind of like a very high-end hotel. And he meets Winston and Cherion, who he requests information on where to find Yusuf. In the meantime, Vigo's putting out like a $2 million bounty on John Wick's head, double it if anybody who's willing to break the Continental rules to kill John Wick on sight. Even though there's two rules with every Continental that cannot be broken. Otherwise, you'll be reaping heavy repercussions. One, you must uh, uh, there's a thing called a marker, which you'll see in the sequel, where you got to honor the marker, which is pretty much like a very extreme pinky swear promise, where it's like blood oaths that you have to honor if one is made. And secondly, there's no business or business meaning death or fighting on continental grounds for any reason. Otherwise, you'll suffer penalties. So once John gets information on where Vigo is, he goes to this Red Circle Club, and he spots Yusuf in like a bathhouse. He kills his right hand and just goes on this onslaught, which is an awesome action scene, just like I said, wall to wall headshots and clearing these people out, and while trying to get this little prick who's running through the club and like managed to get in the car and take off. Now in the middle of this, John gets like hurt, so he has to go back to the Continental, heal up a bit, and you see like it's nice little callbacks to, in this trilogy, it's nice little callbacks to Matrix stuff here, because the doctor that is treating him is the key maker from the Matrix film. So Marcus, played by Willem Dafoe, is like a fame who's turned to be like was John's mentor, but his assassinating skills tailor made for like sniping. So he, on the opposite building on a roof, looking through the scope, takes a shot at John's pillow while he's trying to rest to get his attention, while Perkins is just coming in trying to assassinate John. He subdues her, gets information on like Vigo's whereabouts, which is like a church in Little Russia, and has this fellow assassin named Harry to look after Perkins, while she's unconscious, until Winston gets Winston gets word or whatever like that. But that part, it kind of trips me on. Like, it's supposed to be like a catch release, but she attacked John on continental grounds. He's supposed to have like suffer repercussions, which he does later. But it should have been like Harry should have just like called in right away. But she gets loose and kills Harry, and then books it. But John goes to the church, kills any hitmen inside, subdues the priest, who is like because the church is like a front for keeping like Vigo's blackmail and tons of cash. As he's being taken down there, he burns away all the cash and the blackmail Vigo had held up, really crippling him business wise. And when he's trying to ambush Vigo, he gets John gets subdued, and it's a nice little exchange between Vigo and John as he mentions that guys like us are cursed. God took your wife from you and then unleashed you on me. And it's like, John didn't disagree. I mean, it's like, it's one of those kind of conversations between like the main protagonist and the antagonist, where it's like, none of us are good in this, and we both are damned, by the end of our lives. So, that's kind of like common ground kind of situations. Like, but your kid killed, it's like what your kid did is like he killed my wife all over again, and I was just trying to grieve in peace. So you give me your son, or you'll die alongside him. And as Vigo Stuck's trying to suffocate him through like a bag. Marcus steps in again, snipes one of the guys, and John kills the other one, and ambushes Vigo again. Vigo releases the information on where his son is being held up. John goes over, and this is like another unique thing in action films that you don't really see. It's just usually you'll see like here like this like a big either two things, a big epic battle between like the main adversary that the hero needs to kill, or some kind of monologue, or both. There was none of that. This is like a little shit kid who don't have any kind of fighting skills or gun skills whatsoever. As he's running for his life, John just like took a pop shot at him, and then walks over. Don't even say a word. Just bam, like you realistically would expect a person to do. If you want to look, there's none of that, conversation or whatever. Just like get the job done. Take this kid out. Boom, move the heck on. And then, of course, Vigo now like kind of like at this point he's realizing his son is dead. He's just kind of like getting beside himself. He finds out through Perkins that Mark has been helping John out this whole time. He beats and tortures Marcus in his own home, and like calls John over to the house, hoping that Perkins will be ambushing him and killing him, and like pretty much laying like a trap. Perkins is not there. She gets ambushed by, well, not ambushed, but she is, well, I guess ambush it would be a right word, where Winston, knowing for well what she did, on the Continental grounds, has her assassinated right on the spot. John tracks down Vigo, takes out his guards, and does this like one-on-one mono kind of fight, and ends up fatally wounding Vigo, while he himself is fatally wounded. And not fatally, he's just wounded, but you think he's fatally wounded. And this is the part where you think this is only a one and done kind of film, because the way it ends, it's like you would think it's like, okay, this is a pretty solid movie. You don't need like a sequel to this. How can you make a sequel to this? But they figure out a way. But as John is walking away, he's passing by a kennel and releases this pit bull puppy that's meant for euthanization. The next day, he takes the dog and goes out to the spot where him and Helen last spent their days at, and the movie ends. Boy, this movie is just, like I said, it could easily have been just like a one-shot kind of movie, and I would have been satisfied. I don't think anybody wouldn't be mad about having this just like a one-off film. It just ends perfectly. You don't know. I mean, you would like to assume that John, he's somehow survived because he got like some medical stuff from the pet area kennel thing, and like got like a new dog, and he ends just avenging his wife by proxy to the dog and the car. But of course there's a sequel, which we'll get to pretty soon. But yeah, man, John Wick, man, and Keanu Reeves is just a stellar star, and this really started his Keanu Renaissance, or Keanu Science, this moving forward. To this day, we're still in that Keanu Science. Not many people, cared for Matrix 4. I don't think it's like hated or reviled like Matrix 3. But I guess people expected more. But I thought Matrix 4 was solid, and yeah, I mean, and of course this movie was directed by Chastasty. That's how you pronounce it. And I think he directed all the John Wick films. So yeah, I'm curious to know what you guys think about like John Wick, the first movie. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff to Talkative Carl, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Patreon, and yeah, this is how I feel. It's like, and just if I have anything that I kind of like, still like kind of, I won't say bother, but just kind of confusing. But the Harry situations, like Harry lost his life for no freaking reason. And he could have just easily called Winston right then and there, have people come up, take her out, be done with it. But but some of the greatest movies have like the minimal issues. But yeah, I'm curious to know what your thoughts on the first John Wick film. And I'll see you guys in a minute for the sequel, John Wick 2, or John Wick Chapter 2. See you in a minute.